are continuing in Christian apologetics, which is simply proving that there is a God, that the Bible is the Word of God, and that Jesus of Nazareth is the Son of God. But this evening we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to be viewing some things. Some of it, there's a little section that I did weeks before, but many of you have not seen it. But the first order of business for anyone, for a rational mind, the first order of business is, where do all things come from? I can't imagine an adult, now a child, a child can live quite happily and not think of much of anything except what's in front of them. But for an adult, you've got to ask this question at some point. Where did everything come from? How did it get here? It can't just be here because it's here. That doesn't answer the question. But atheists ask a different question. It's not a matter of where did all things come from, but it is, where did I come from since there is no God? How did everything get here since there is no God? There is the atheist question. That is the very bad starting point. Where did I come from since there is no God? Well, there's nothing more to it than that. That is the question to be answered. And if there's any other answer that comes in that doesn't fit with this question, such as, well, there is a God, well, that doesn't fit. That is tossed out of your head. Now, how did we get here? How did everything get here? Without God, like I just said, it's the wrong starting point. One, it rejects God from all possible answers. We'll accept any answer except one that includes God. This is not honest inquiry from an honest heart or an open heart or an open mind. It's not there. All this is that the answer must be not God. The answer must be that. All right, now let's talk about men who have had profound influence in various fields. And they have had an influence way beyond their death. And every one of them played their part in their field, and every one of them was an atheist. We have, of course, Charles Darwin under science. And by the way, Darwin didn't have a science degree at all. All right, he actually had a theological degree. Karl Marx, atheist, a lot of pain and suffering, a lot of all of these brought about a lot of suffering, whether they did it on their own or not. These two, Friedrich Nietzsche, philosopher, atheist philosopher, neither he nor Karl Marx saw their philosophy and the suffering that came from it in action. They died before that occurred. But you can count on Nietzsche as being very much a foundation stone for World War II. Very much so. Now you can call it Hitler, and yeah, of course you can. But the philosophy was already there before Hitler was even born. Friedrich Nietzsche is the one very much responsible for it. But in music, Richard Strauss. In art, Pablo Picasso, and these aren't the only ones, by the way. In psychology, Sigmund Freud. In biblical scholarship, Rudolf Karl Bultmann. Yes, you can have atheists in biblical scholarship. There's a lot of them out there that they read the Bible and study the text to try to prove it's something else. That's what they try to do. And now here, from all of this, we now come to this. What does atheism bring? Well, you get the likes of Adolf Hitler is what you get. And National Socialism is what you get, also known as the Nazi Party. And One might say that Hitler was a Christian. No, he wasn't. He was raised Catholic, but he would have destroyed all the churches in Germany if the German people would have allowed him to do it. He needed support. He needed the support of a lot of people, and there were certain things even he couldn't get away with. He definitely wanted to. And so what do we get from all this? Of course, we get places such as Auschwitz, where it's industrial level killing, murder of people, and we have the just death and every sort of wickedness. Just wildfire killing is what it's called, where it's just killing indiscriminately without so much as a reason, just doing it. And now let's make a comparison between this guy and now this one. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, theologian, murdered by Nazis. He was against Hitler and what Hitler stood for. He was against the Nazis and what the Nazis stood for. And yeah, they killed him. They have to have people like him dead. How many did he kill? He didn't kill anybody. He didn't murder anybody. Did his philosophy or anything that he believed lead to killing? And the answer is no, not at all. Now we continue on to very famous atheist Pol Pot in Cambodia. This is also where it leads to the killing fields in Cambodia, where thousands are killed. They are executed. You also get the likes of Joseph Stalin and the Soviet Union and communism. If you think communism sees everyone as equal and free, you've been fooled, because communism doesn't believe that at all. Communism is a slave state, is what communism is. And it has no remorse. There are no human rights under communism. And with this, you have gulags and labor camps and mass executions once again, of where there were quotas given out from officially from Stalin as to how many certain areas must kill per month. There were quotas in that, and it was to keep fear. I can only assume it was to keep everyone afraid of Stalin. And of course, this is extraordinarily wicked. But more of your gulags and your labor camps of the Soviet Union, and compare him, Stalin, to Pavel Florensky. He also is a theologian, murdered by Stalin. Now, of course, the communists leveled all kinds of accusations against him, which were false. But aside from, they had him conspiring with the Nazis, where he disagreed with the Nazis too. But he is also murdered. And what do you get from all of this? You get glorified killers such as Ernesto Guevara de la Serna, also known lovingly as Che Guevara. And he was from Argentina. He was a doctor turned murderer. That's what he becomes. And he becomes this patron saint of of communists. Now, atheism as a philosophy. This is a section that we did weeks ago, but in the morning only. I just want to bring this in because it needs to be brought in. Atheism is morally dismissive. That means it disregards moral thought altogether, right and wrong. It doesn't care about it. Matter of fact, that is the reason for being an atheist, is so you can do what you want to do without the thought that God is looking over you and you're going to pay for it in the end. That there will be judgment on you. Well, that is the motive for being an atheist. In Psalm 19 and Psalm 14 and verse 1. The fool has said in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt. They have done abominable works. There is none who does good. Because they're not out to do good, the intent is evil. And one would say, well, I know atheists and they're not evil, but we have to ask, by whose standard are you saying that? Sure, you have certain atheists that are on a low level on the evil deeds list. They're not murderers, and they're not embezzling people. But it is to be rid of anything good. Atheism is a moral problem, and dishonesty is its core. To the core, it is going to be dishonest all the way through. Now, just a few weeks ago, came across a fellow, and obviously an atheist. He didn't want to talk very long after he said some things, but all evil in the world is from religion. We must be rid of religion. And while, I will agree that there are religious groups on the earth that are a problem. That is true. But it is under the assumption that atheism is not a religion, and it is. It's also overlooking the fact that as an atheist, you can't claim any kind of moral understanding or hold any kind of moral ground whatsoever, because without God there is no morality. Without God there is no right or wrong. If we were just a cosmic accident, that's what we are. There is no God, there's no higher authority, there is no one above us if all we are is just accident upon accident upon accident upon trillions of accidents. We would live in a very, very different place where we wouldn't even have the sense of right or wrong. We wouldn't have that sense. A goldfish has no sense of right or wrong. A cow doesn't have that sense either. A chicken doesn't have that sense. They only have a sense of survival. Their idea of right or wrong would only be on the thing of, will this spare me for another day, or am I being threatened? Will my life be taken right now if I continue on this path? That would be the only thought through their head, and it would just be instinct, is all it is. But an atheist saying that something is right or something is wrong, you just threw away your atheism. You just tossed it away. And we're going to get to that in a bit, or at least I hope we will. And that is that an atheist will betray their own ideology. And they will do it a lot. That's called being a hypocrite. Well, where they will make the claim there is no God, while upholding and desiring what only came from God. And that would be our knowledge of right and wrong, and a conscience, and the ability to see when something is a good thing or something is an evil thing, and we don't like the evil and we prefer the good. When you do that, you are pleading to God. You are making a plea to Him that He, in fact, is Creator. But let's move forward in this. All evil in the world is from religion, therefore we must be rid of it. And on what moral authority is that based? Because atheism has none. Nietzsche was called you could think of it as applied atheist, and he had books such as The Genealogy of Morals and Beyond Good and Evil, of believing himself to be above good and evil, above all of that. And these things are just man-made. but for being man-made, they sure are pervasive. They're everywhere. Every culture, every people has it. And I'll just take for a second. Margaret Mead, anthropologist. She goes and spends, I think, a total of 6 weeks, maybe 9 weeks. It's not very long. 6 weeks, I do believe, in Samoa. She comes back and writes a book that's entirely fiction. It's called Coming of Age in Samoa, and it was a bestseller. And books by anthropologists just don't become bestsellers. But it was a bestseller in her day because people wanted to hear it, because what she said in Samoa, there was no sense of family. There was no sense of husband and wife. You had children that were shared by everybody. You didn't know who the father was. That it was just open sexuality, and that there was no shame, and everybody was happy. And here's this tropical paradise. And the punchline is, it was a lie. It was entirely a lie. She made it up. The opposite was true. First off, she goes and she doesn't speak a word of Samoan. So in 6 weeks, even 9 weeks, how much do you think she's going to know when she leaves? And it's not enough time anyway to make any kind of conclusions. She comes back and writes what she wanted to write anyway. But the truth of the matter is that even in pagan Samoa, when she went, it was Christian Samoa, that the missionaries had gotten there long before she ever got there, and it was no longer a pagan place. But even in pagan Samoa, there were very, very terrible, bloody sort of punishment for adultery. They'd cut your ears off. And I'm not doing that as a saying. That is what they would do. Under Christian Samoa, they wouldn't do that. But it was wrong. Both saw it as wrong. And what does Margaret Mead want? She doesn't like morality. She doesn't like any of those things. Therefore, she's going to lie and make a lot of money off of it, selling it to people who want to hear that. All right. All evil in the world is from religion. We just look at this. Cain and Abel, they worshiped the same God, even though Cain was a disappointment to God. They worship the same God. It's not from this religiously different that Cain attacks and kills Abel. Joseph and his brothers were not religiously different, but they sold him into slavery. All right, it wasn't because of religion that they did that. It wasn't at all. And if we have to be rid of religion, what would that look like? Because atheism is a religion. You can't have a world that has no religion. You can't do it. You can't legislate it. Because there will be, even Hitler, who wanted to be rid of religion, he had Himmler, who was trying to start up paganism anew. And Hitler was allowing it. He wasn't too happy about it. Okay? And World War II is started by an atheist, inspired by atheists previous to Hitler. Millions are murdered by atheists of Stalin, Hitler, Mao, I didn't have him earlier, and Pol Pot. Now, I want to discuss this. This is the Hitler Youth Song. This is when they were indoctrinating the youth. It wasn't just boys, it was girls too, of where the entire central focus of their life was one man, Adolf Hitler. That is it. They had a vow to him and they sang praises to him. And here is a Hitler Youth song. We are the happy Hitler youth. This is obviously translated into English. We need no Christian virtue because our leader, Adolf Hitler, is always our mediator. No priest, no wrongdoer can ever hinder us, From feeling like Hitler's children, we do not follow Christ, but Horst Wessel, away with incense and holy water. Okay, of course, this is concerning Catholicism there. But in case you want to know who Horst Wessel was, he became a martyr of the Nazi Party. He was killed in 1930. And we continue on. We follow our flags singing as worthy sons of our ancestors. I am no Christian, no Catholic. I'll go with the SA through thick and thin. The SA is also known as the brown shirts. That was the military wing or the militant wing of the Nazi Party. They are the ones that would kick in doors and bust heads and smash windows and burn synagogues and houses. All right, I'll go with the SA through thick and thin. The church can be stolen from me. The swastika is redemption on earth. I will follow it step by step. Baldur von Schirach, take me with you. And he is the leader of the Hitler Youth for, 9 years, something like, about 11 years, I guess it is. And now, let's look at atheism versus the human soul. All right, the atheist has a major problem, and it is himself. The atheist himself has a major problem because he has to work out how to actually be an atheist while being able to stomach it and without being a hypocrite. But you can't. All right, the atheist says one thing in his heart, but his soul will not entirely follow through. Not gonna do it. All right. His soul will betray the ideology, the implication, and the logical conclusions. And I will show you a very good example. Steve Allen. Steve Allen is known for early TV, quite the personality and the celebrity, and a well-known atheist. And as an atheist, you would think that he would have no morals whatsoever, because you throw away God, you throw away all authority, all law, all higher law, everything. Everything's gone. But he began to complain later in his life of the direction that TV was going, TV programming. He saw it as having no value. He saw it as beginning to be evil, and he did not like it. Well, he and I would agree with that. We would agree with that, but he's going against his own atheism and saying it. By what standard do you say that this is heading an evil way, in a bad way? By what standard? He has none. If it's just the opinion of Steve Allen, who cares? That's your opinion. I got my own opinion. Who cares? Your opinion doesn't rule over the rest of us. And he is absolutely being inconsistent in all this. I want you to see this, Matthew 25 and verse 15. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you travel land and sea to win one proselyte, and when he is won, you make him twice as much a son of hell as yourselves. All right, I've put this in, not because it's about atheists, but because there were certain implications under Pharisee doctrine that doctrine demanded it. There was a logical conclusion to the doctrine of the Pharisees, that the Pharisees themselves, at least those, we could call them first generation Pharisees, that they weren't going to go any further. That the doctrine demanded it, but they won't commit themselves to it, but others would. Others would take it farther, to it more closer to the logical conclusions of it. And that's why Christ says, you make him twice as much a son of hell as yourselves. Here is something, you're bad enough, but this proselyte you just won, he's far worse than you. And it's because of your teaching. And of course, that all comes down to the fact that the Pharisees would only take it to a certain point, means that they were hypocrites as Jesus described them. Now, the atheist soul will betray the ideology, implication, logical conclusions, and the lie of atheism. Most certainly will. Someone who is made in the image of God and existing in the creation of God will do more to prove the existence of God than they realize. Just their existence proves the existence of God, and their actions will prove it. An atheist will demonstrate the power and creation of God without meaning to. They will make moral decisions. They'll act as though absolute right and wrong exists. They will worship, and they will want purpose for life. In a tooth and claw law of the jungle, the only purpose is survival. It's no deeper than that. The only purpose is to live for another day. That's it. Anything that gets in your way between that and survival, or that in what you think you need for survival, has to be gotten out of the way. You have to get rid of that. And so here is the atheist. This is all very similar to 1 Kings chapter 18 with Elijah and the 450 prophets of Baal. The 450 believe they can prove one thing and end up proving the opposite. They think they're going to prove that Baal is the one that exists. You know, sometimes I wonder if there wasn't one of them or a few of them in that group dancing around and doing the bloodletting and all that and the frantic things that they were doing. If some of them anyway knew this wasn't going to work. I wonder about that. And I'm wondering, knowing that Baal isn't going to answer them, not knowing that Jehovah is, but knowing Baal's not going to do it. I just think that, I mean, I can't prove it. I just wonder more than anything else. All right, God's going to prove himself through his enemies as well as his own people. And you can have even the 450 prophets of Baal proving that God exists. Now, anyone made in the image of God, living in the creation of God and trying to disprove the existence of God is very much like a man living on an island trying to disprove the existence of water. All right, because the man living on that island is surrounded by it, made with it, and desperately needs it. And to say that water doesn't exist, you just have to ask, well, what surrounds the island then? What is it that you drink then? What is it that you actually do? The atheist is surrounded by God, made in the image of God, and desperately needs God. And you can't get out of that reality. Now, the atheist will deny that he needs God. The atheist can deny that he's surrounded by God. But there's one thing that he can't actually escape from. He can't escape from any of this, but his actions will betray his thoughts. He's made in the image of God, and that's going to betray his actions. Because of that, are going to betray his own philosophy. An atheist can form the words, "There is no God," but the atheist's actions will betray that statement of faith every single time. Why? Because an atheist has a soul. A soul will behave inconsistently to any reality assumed and predicted by atheism, because life minus God is not reality, and atheists live in reality. While denying it, they are reforming it. A soul will behave exactly as predicted as a being in a world made by God. And the soul of an atheist behaves as souls do, as souls created by God. We are not machines for survival. Here are some things not necessary for survival at all. Emotions, remorse, guilt. Self-sacrifice is the opposite of survival. Compassion, humor. All right, tell me something like a Bengal tiger. A tiger in the jungle of India. It truly is a creature of survival. Tell me which one of these it needs in there, or even possesses. Emotions. It's not going to weep over its kill, even if it killed you. It's not going to weep. Remorse or guilt? Nope. Make a self-sacrifice? Nope, not going to do that. That is exactly what it's not going to do. Compassion or humor? No, none of those things at all. These are not components of tooth and claw survival, nor can they be. All right, man himself is the, okay, this is a quote from Nietzsche. Man himself is, to the discerning one, the animal with red cheeks. What does he mean by that? That's from a book For All and None. Well, that's Thus Spake Zarathustra, a book for all and none. Man has a sense of shame and guilt for personal behavior. That's what he's talking about. That is precisely what he is getting at. Now, Romans 1:19, because what may be known of God is manifest in them, for God has shown it to them. It's manifest in them, and they can't be rid of that. They can't be rid of it at all. All right? It's all going to be evident, clearly shown or demonstrated, proven, plain, and visible, that manifest in them. And being in them is both body and soul, is going to be showing the evidence of God, and no one can escape proving God at all. Everyone will prove God's power, wisdom, and existence. Everyone, including those who don't want to do that. It is body and soul and spirit is how that's going to be done. So we come to Psalm 139:14. I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well. Sometimes I wonder if these outspoken atheists know something they don't want to admit. Now, there'll be some that don't ask the question. There'll be some that just follow blindly, and they really haven't put any thought in it at all. But some of these that I know to be highly intelligent people, I wonder if they haven't just deep down know there is a God. Deep down, they know it. I probably have told you this before. It was a man who taught me when he was in his 20s. He was a coal miner. He knew the truth. He just didn't obey it. He knew the truth. And he just expected to work the rest of his life in coal mines and as he pleased. And something occurred in the coal mine that completely changed his life. For the better, is that there was a cave-in. The roof literally fell in on him, and he thought he was dead. And he might have. He was rescued. He couldn't have gotten out of there by himself. He was rescued, but in being trapped under all that coal, he knew he was lost. He knew what the truth was. He just would not obey it. And once he got out of there, he knew, all right, that could have been my grave back there. That could have been the very end. And he corrected his life at that point. And years later, becomes my teacher. Now, Hebrews 12, verse 9. Furthermore, we have had human fathers who corrected us, and we paid them respect. Shall we not much more readily be in subjection to the Father of spirits and live? This is just talking about our souls, and watch and pray lest you enter into temptation. I want you to notice something. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. I want you to know something about that. Jesus is not just talking about his followers. He's talking about all of us. He's not just talking about the few that are before him, the apostles or disciples or anyone like that. He's talking about everyone, that everyone has a spirit and everyone is made of flesh as well. That the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And atheists have the same problem. This Proverbs 20 and verse 27, the spirit of the man is the lamp of the Lord, searching all the inner depths of his heart. We are in fact very complex in all of this. And so we come to all this that going back where we were, that the spirit of the atheist is going to act in one way contrary to the flesh of the atheist. What does that mean? It means, as it usually does, that there are things that we would do, but we do something else. All right? With the atheist in his mind, he would do a certain thing because it's part of his overall worldview, but he breaks it and quite often doesn't even know he's done it. He has no idea he's done it at all. So we come to Mark 14:38. Watch and pray lest you enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. The spirit has a will of its own, separate from the flesh. The spirit has a will of its own. And Galatians 5 and 17. For the flesh lusts against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh, and these are contrary to one another, so that you do not do the things that you wish. And this would apply to everybody. Everybody. That would mean the followers of Christ and those that deny Christ entirely. All right. If the spirit works against the flesh, then even in an atheist, his spirit will work against him. It simply will. All right. Let's look at this in action. The atheist model of reality. If everything is a result of a cosmic accident, there is no God, then we are the product of that accident. What would we expect to find in that reality, in that existence? There is neither purpose nor meaning in human life. You don't have a value. You have no value whatsoever. Nothing you see has any value. Everything is just an accident, and there is no purpose, but yet you want a purpose for your life because you're built for that. You're built desiring a purpose, that your life, that actually it's more than your life, that your being has a value to it, that your being is special, your being has a purpose, that somehow you are not just like a plant, not like a potato, not like a tree or a rock, that you are something greater than that. You are an individual. You have a name. You can think for yourself. Do as you decide you're going to do. You can make your own choices. And you would hope for better things for yourself, but also that you in fact have a purpose. Atheism throws that completely away. There is no purpose. There's no value to human life whatsoever. There's no value there. There can be no human soul. Any notion concerning spiritual battles in heavenly places is false. That simply cannot be. There can be no right or wrong. Universal or absolute morality can't exist. And we go back to Steve Allen making complaints about how wicked things had become in the television realm. It's like, well, all right, are you appealing to an absolute morality here? Or just the fact that you see something as being wrong and you're still going for the absolute morality? You can't get away from that. atheist model of reality is there can be no objective moral decisions. Meaningless, purposeless, valueless, soulless beings accidentally existing in a world without an absolute right or wrong cannot make objective moral decisions and would never be called to do so. It wouldn't exist. And to think of us as meaningless, purposeless, valueless, soulless, and just here by accident, why should I respect your life? And why should you respect mine? And that's how you get places like Auschwitz and death camps, and that's how you get mass executions, because there is no right or wrong. You can do however you please. Might and survival is all that matters. I think I'm about to open up a very large section, so we will stop there for this evening.